Hello and welcome to Cover Story. Today we have with us a very special guest, in fact, one of my favorites. I have with me Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi. He's a third-time senior MP. He's national spokesperson for the Congress Party. He's also been on various standing committees. He's a constitutional expert and an author. Welcome to this conversation, sir. Good to have you.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you for your kind words.
Well, my next few words are not going to be very kind because I'm going to be talking about the state of the Congress. So we've just had the Prime Minister give a pretty, it's like he sounded the bugle for the next election, saying that he is expecting 370 plus seats. What do you make of that?
Well, the reply to the president's address, as you know, is one category of speech in the parliament where you can cover and say anything and everything. So the Prime Minister obviously used it to make an electoral speech. But I think what really stood out was two or three things for me. One, I was a little sad and sorry to see a third-term Prime Minister in terms of 2 terms over and going into elections for a third. Use such strong derogatory words for not only the first Prime Minister of India, but for a person who has commonly and widely acknowledged across the political spectrum as a foundation layer of our independence, second only perhaps to, the triumvirate of Gandhi, Nehru and Patel were the special category. The kind of Shelley, the kind of idiom, I was disappointed. Number two, I believe the time has come, and I'm nobody to, I'm a very small person to advise anybody who's advising the Prime Minister, but the time has come for there to be some more statesmanship, some more magnanimity, some more inclusiveness, some more carrying people together. It was a very divisive speech. And thirdly, it was a very self-congratulatory, pat on the back kind of speech. So he's, of course, a very great orator. There's no doubt about it. But I think it detracted from his oratory when he went out of the way to attack, and somewhat, I would say, very, very, unfortunate, torn out of context, single sentence here and there, jibes, mocking tone. I could go on and on. I would want my Prime Minister, and he's my Prime Minister as much as yours, to be definitely more inclusive in carrying people and sentiment together.
But in turn, he accused the Congress of being divisive. He's saying that you are creating a North-South divide.
Now tell me, number one, Priya, from 2014, have you seen more exclusivist, divisive and exclusionary politics than any other party in India? Put your hand on your heart and say, doesn't matter it's a BJP, non-BJP, nobody will say that. Be it in dress, habit, targeting minorities, the idiom, the religious divide, etc., etc. I don't want to repeat that. So clearly, nobody in his right senses would suggest that this government's approach is not divisive. Second, what is this so-called North-South divide? I agree entirely, and I was quoted in the Times of India. I said, obviously, there was poor articulation. Some phraseology was wrong. Nobody can say that, look, I am part of this state and that state, therefore I will succeed from India, or I'll form a sovereignty with you. Nobody can and should say that. I'm not supporting that kind of phraseology. It was probably more an emotional outburst and poor articulation. But here are, across the political spectrum, persons coming and saying, A, you haven't given us our due share. B, you haven't given us, I'm just, summarizing, GST competition. C, you are actually doing neither cooperative nor competitive federalism. You are doing anti-federalist activities. Now, if they come together and have a dharna, that is not North-South divide. That is actually the southern states saying that, look, in many ways, we are more efficient. We are less population-oriented. We have made more economic progress. But because of that, sometimes we are penalized more. Your formulas do that. So it's a very straight economic demand, and they are airing their demands in a democratic spirit. So he's totally wrong. A, his government is far more divisive in every which way, social, economic, political. And B, this was not a divisive demand, North-South demand at all. That's a mischaracterization.
Okay. But the fact is also the Congress has people, articulate people say like you to come and counter it. But at the end of the day, when the leader is missing, how does that take for the Congress attack? Rahul Gandhi is not here; he's in yatra yet again, another yatra.
It has become the habit of certain sections uh, of the BJP and other some sections to lampoon him. But let me tell you two or three things. This yatra, be it a bus yatra or the earlier walk yatra, is not an easy task. Number two, to suggest that he has left the political arena, and that is the suggestion going on, and is doing a yatra which is non-political or apolitical, is absolutely hogwash. This is a Jodo and a justice yatra. It joins people, it enthuses people, it connects with people. Everyday decisions are being taken, and it has nothing to do with the yatra because the yatra has started already. So he is actually managing day walking, fixed time walking, evening driving, and taking this whole control room, a mobile control room functional there. And of course, thirdly, whenever there is necessity, as for example, I believe today or tomorrow, he's back in day stops. But to suggest that decision making is paralyzed, one person is exiled, the other person is unilateral, and they're all febrile imaginations.
But having said that, how optimistic are you about the next general elections? Realistic. Now you asked me to be realistic. You tell me a
I
realistic
tell
answer.
you candidly, there's no doubt that it is something which we have to fight very well, very carefully, very shrewdly, because the BJP is no doubt a very well endowed fighting machine. Above everything else is their endowment, the resources they need. But the key to it, in my personal opinion, is the ensuring of at least at the minimum, I would say, one person, one constituency in 500 seats. There is no doubt that that makes it a very strong fight. Whether it's a fright or a fight, it will be still to be seen. But to suggest that there's a walkover with that kind of a synergy is completely nonsense. The BJP would like you to. BJP has done this chest thumping earlier, Priya. You and I are not strangers to it. Do you know the kind of crescendo to which West Bengal was raised? There was not a person, not a leaf or a tree or a bird which thought that the BJP would not get not a majority but something like a 2/3. So this is the BJP's event management art. I concede it to them. I compliment them. They raise things to a crescendo. Of course, the fact that frequently the crescendo at the state level, frequently those crescendos have turned out to be damn squibs. At that time, nobody asked. Nobody turned around and asked, Sir Prime Minister Sahab, kya hua? 70 seat kyun aayi Bengal mein? So this is all right to build up crescendo. That's also an art. I mean, I would actually compliment them that they can do so much of it. They have resources, by the way. A very big component of building up crescendos is resources. Do you know all official published figures? Not my figure or party, they are official Government of India figures. All the parties put together, multiplied by 5 or 7 or 10, is the resources of the BJP. Whether by the electoral bonds or by any other which means.
So then how, given the fact that they have all these resources and everything, what can the Congress do? At least the Congress should, if you don't have a face to match the Prime Minister, currently his popularity is all-time high, at least get a good narrative in place. The Congress doesn't even have that. My problem with this Bharat Jodo Yatra is there's nothing tangible. He's talking esoteric issues. Nyaya and Bharat Jodo are all very good, but how do you translate that on ground?
Well, first and foremost, as I said, the need of the hour is to have 500 seats with one person, one constituency. There is no time now for doing Akla Chalo or new synergies, new strategies, new alliances. It has to be that. Number two, they are talking much more than you think at the ground level, and I'll be shortly joining parts of this yatra, of unemployment. They are talking of price rise. They are talking of women atrocities. They are talking of unequal development. They are talking of agriculture. Nitty gritty. He's having, by the way, this is a different yatra from the earlier one in many ways, in the sense that this is a combos are happening. You're doing car, then you're getting off, you're doing chopals, you're doing walking. You're having these meetings on different themes. So it is very much a political component along with a social component. Thirdly, what is our narrative? Our narrative is that you have one vision of Modi ji. He's welcome to the vision. It's a democracy. We believe many parts of the vision are warped. That's the message we have sent again and again. That message, which we believe is warped, has a exclusivist idea of India. It has a exclusionary idea of India. It has a ideologically non-inclusive, non-pluralistic idea of India. It has a vision of economic development which is very, very slanted and not of equitable distribution, etc., etc. Now, those are ideas we're trying to convey.
Stating that the issue is Modi. He's saying the issue is Modi. Last election, he said also, I am the issue. You're also saying he is the issue and you're reacting to him. The Congress ka kya issue hai? What do you stand for? Everything that is not Modi.
No. We are not reacting to him. But naturally, we have to, as an opposition, point out that why he is not good for the health of the country. In that sense, the person in the saddle has to become the center of attraction. He is the one in the saddle. He is the Prime Minister of India. But to suggest that we are Modi-centric, we are Modi-centric only to the extent that he himself is I, me, myself. Now, obviously, in this government, nobody can decide the policy except Modi ji. So you have to attack those policies, you have to attack Modi ji.
But then, one form of campaigning is the attack. But then there has to be a positive narrative also. Not that, okay, if you vote me, I will bring in, this is how I will tackle unemployment. This is how I will help the agriculture farmers.
This is very, very clear. Our points are very, our attacks themselves have the solutions. We took out.
बहुत complicated होते हैं. Last time also you came up with something because nobody understood it. It was lost in translation. That economic vision.
Let me tell you, imitation is the best form of flattery. Many of the schemes, which are the showpieces of Modi ji, are our schemes. Now, I mean,
but he implements them better.
What is our alternative? What was our alternative? When we came, did we not implement the world's largest social welfare scheme, Manrega? Did we not implement the world's largest Bima insurance scheme? Did we not implement the world's largest food security scheme? You know, if people tend to forget, the world's largest, forget India, food security scheme. Did we not implement a very large part of the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's own scheme of urban houses? Now, he has given new names. I have a list of 25. He's given new names. He's added a few funding. And actually, if you dig deep enough, Priya, 90% is just continuation and in many times diminution of the allocation of pre-existing Congress schemes. I can give you a list. I have jotted them down in the budget this time. Now, the point I'm trying to make that the Modi ji's vision of social development and distribution equity is entirely largely trying to hijack Congress schemes. There is nothing new about them. There is nothing novel about them. Each of the 6 names I took, are they not unique? Were they done in 70 years of India earlier? No. They were unique. Tell me which of these is a unique scheme here. He talks about a lot of this last mile delivery. This Jan Bank Yojana. All of them are based on Aadhaar. Who got Aadhaar? There's nothing but an application of Aadhaar.
But the fact is that he's implemented. My thing is, you don't celebrate your own schemes. For instance, there was 1991, 3 decades, nothing, not a whimper out of the Congress to celebrate that. Rahul Gandhi goes to Assam. He doesn't mention Dr. Manmohan Singh. He mentions all the Gandhi Nehru prime ministers. Why not Manmohan Singh, who's been an MP from Assam? People have noticed all these things.
No, there's no question of the Congress. There is no question of the Congress not celebrating Dr. Manmohan Singh. There's no question of the Congress sidelining. These are the imaginary tilting.
The celebration was where in the. I mean, we didn't get to know. You didn't call me for the party.
I don't remember whether he took the name. That's hardly an index of, Dr. Manmohan Singh is occupied center stage. He's got the maximum respect and, support from the Congress. I think it's completely warped of Mr. Modi to think that he's being excluded. But
Modi is not. This is the media who's thinking that.
Yeah, media, you need to.
Media, I know you are going to
find this. Nobody suggests the allegation earlier used to be about Prime Minister Narasimha Rao, because that was a time just after the aftermath of. But certainly nobody has said it till now about any sidelining of Dr. Manmohan Singh. I think it's a ridiculous suggestion. Of course, he's now aged. He suffers from ill health. He's not active. He's not in the mainstream. That is understandable. But
3 decades of 91, what a great moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, Priya, I confess, to be very candid, this government in many ways is a better event manager. They will do X units, but project before you 5X. Perhaps I'm not saying always, but perhaps we have not been quite up to the mark on that, to even 3x. We have, in fact, sometimes done 5x and only shown 4x in terms of promotional activities. So there is that difference. I mean, everything, the the G20 happened in India exactly the same way earlier. But, the kind of event management and hullabaloo created, that sometimes also has the flip side of hiding substance through the hype. So I think people also realize, of course, he's good at that. There's no doubt. He overhypes it.
Fair enough. I'm going to take a break and I'm going to come back. And Dr. Singhvi, on a more personal note, this is your third term as the Rajya Sabha MP is just finishing. I'm sure you're going to have another term coming up soon. But if you can just, look back at some of the highs and, of your term as a MP, the, good times that you, or, speeches that you made, I'm going to come back and ask you to recall that. So just a short break. Hello and welcome back to a cover story conversation with Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi. Dr. Singhvi, a bit about the Rajya Sabha. We were just discussing how this you come 3-term MP. It's like good innings for you. I remember some of your speeches. Also, you've been the Congress Party's most articulate defense. But which has been your favorite, debate?
Thank you for asking that, Priya. It's coincidental. Just today we had a farewell for departing members of the Rajya Sabha. And believe it or not, all things impromptu, on the spot. I sang a song as well.
Oh, really?
Residence. Thank God the Prime Minister had not come till then. He might have been horrified about the lack of talent this member has in singing. But that's on the lighter side.
He may have co-opted you.
But there was a lot of other people, including the host, the Honorable Vice President and the Deputy Chairperson of the Rajya Sabha, and our colleague MPs. And we had great fun. But let me summarize very quickly what you said. One, how fast time flies, one doesn't realize. It's 18 years now.
Wow.
Two, with all this disruption, hullabaloo, betrayals, shoutings, knives, there is still a lot of camaraderie in the Rajya Sabha. People don't see that. The kind of gossip we have in the central hall, where we sit in the canteen.
There's no central hall.
Yeah, that is something of regret, I believe. And I've been asked by many members to lead a delegation, multi-party delegation to the Prime Minister, to do something like a recreation of that central hall. That is, central hall is not a space. It's a concept. It's people sitting across. Thirdly, I was privileged, Priya, that from 2006 to 2014 or 13 at least, from the ruling benches, I was the lead speaker. That's a great honor. And, it has ranged from two of the major, most important, twice, not once, the 1, 2, 3 nuclear speeches. Honorable Prime Minister did me the honor of saying only he must open. And, it was his pet favorite theme. Twice it happened. He came to the Rajya Sabha twice. Then twice also came the Office of Profit, the bill on which Sonia Gandhi ji resigned, came for the elections. I was the lead speaker in both of them. That's 4 of them. One of my most enjoyable and glorious moments was when, as chairman of the Standing Committee on Law, we dealt in 4 months with the Lokpal bill, one of the most controversial bills, achieved rare unanimity, examined over 100 plus witnesses. In a record 4 months, we reported, and with very little dissent. That it became acrimonious in the House later on is not what I'm talking about, the committee, which I chaired. So then, of course, the Lokpal speech was a major one. Then Ayodhya, Liberhan, then repeatedly replied to the president's motion as a vote of thanks, etc. So it's been very interesting. In the post Modi ji's tenure, of course, I have opened many of the major debates for opposition. As you know, the opposition usually opens, in fact. The government replies later on. So that has included, of course, the Collegium, the National Judicial Commission bill, recently the NCT bill, the Municipal Corporation bill, so many of them. Of course, I am perhaps the only male to have been aborted twice in the recent past. I was the lead speaker in the CEC bill last session, and I was aborted because of the disruption. And I was the lead speaker on all the 3 samhitas this time. Not this session, but the previous session. That again was aborted. So I always joke that I am perhaps the only male person who's been aborted twice.
I was wondering where that was going.
I was not one of the suspended members because I was not in the House at that time. but I couldn't obviously go and speak when all my colleagues had been suspended. So this has been a nice time. And, I always like to tell people that you see the disruption, you see the acrimony, you see the hullabaloo. But what you don't see is what the media has no time for. On a lazy afternoon, and by the way, the best place to sit in India on a very hot Delhi afternoon is the very, very cool and comfortable portals of the house, which is very well, as the old house was. We haven't seen the summer yet in this one. And there you will find an anonymous, unknown member of parliament just getting up and giving a riveting speech on a subject which is entirely experiential. He'll say something about agriculture. It'll come from experience, not from PhD degrees, not from universities. Somebody else will speak about the MSMEs, and you will get gems of insights. Now, these are things which you actually have in the Rajya Sabha. And then, of course, as I said, you will have a Rajnath Singh sitting here and Abhishek Singhvi sitting there. Sometimes in the old days, Sonia Gandhi would come here, Vajpayee ji would come. And, you would, by the way, the rule in Central Hall, that everything you say is off the record unless I tell you specifically this is on the record.
Chatham House rules.
All the journalists respected that. And, you'd have a freewheeling discussion and there was no, rancor at that time. These are qualities of parliament which one must cherish and promote and prosper and endorse.
But in terms of, you've seen various vice presidents, chairpersons of the Rajya Sabha. Whom did you have a good rapport with? Whom do you think handled the house well? Whom would you like to single out?
Each person has their qualities, to be very honest. Venkaiah ji, of course, had this turn of phrase, and he also had a very amiable spirit. I think it's important to make rancor absent from your demeanor. Hamid Ansari ji was very, very refined. The word refined comes to. He seemed a bit formal, but understood everything and allowed people to prosper. The current chairman has great qualities of wit. And of course, there are political undercurrents always. He has the hard task of managing the house. So sometimes, according to us, unfairly, he may suspend, sometimes fairly, etc., etc. Those things go on. But each has their own quality of endearment. And when they come off the chair, like today I was at the Vice President's house, it's all fun and games. It's a lot of conviviality. It's a lot of warmth. I mean, his wife is in service to so many of these get-togethers and the huge amount of hospitality on the lovely lawns of Vice President's house. So these are all, I think, things which do bind. Of course, there is no doubt that when you go back to the house, you expect a certain, access to speaking, because as they say, the opposition must have its say. The government will have its way. Now, there is always a complaint about deficiency there. That should not detract from the fact that we are all ultimately bound together in a fairly, and we walk in whenever we like to the VP's room, the chairman's room, whoever it is, and you have a coffee and you have gufshop, and that's quite different from what happens inside the house. The room behind the chair.
Where is out. So I'm glad there is some kind of, room for decent conversation also in Parliament across benches. But you're also an eminent jurist. You're one of the most finest leading lawyers of the country, councils. Compare arguing in court to arguing in Parliament. Which one do you prefer?
This will take more time than you think, but I'll be very pointed. This is a more important question than you might have thought.
Really?
I have had the unique privilege of being an insider in some sense or the other of all the three organs. And I can tell you it's a great learning process, which very few people will realize. You get up in the morning, let's say the 10:30 to 12:30 slot in court, when you're running around on a miscellaneous day. The idiom, the style is cold, logical, precise, page number, volume number. I have done it hundreds of times, get in the car at 12:31, change my jacket in the car, and enter as the lead speaker after on the opposite benches. Jetli is opened, or Arun Shori is opened, or Venkaiah had opened, or Yashwant Sinha had opened. Now, if you assume that the same topic which I did in the morning in court, not that it is, but I'm saying if you assume, the style in which I'll speak in Parliament will be totally different. The canvas is larger. The flourish is different. The rhetoric is different. Even if you assume similar topics, mind you. So imagine the same thing, how different. And then I've done a third thing which very few people have done. 3:30, 4:30, depending. I've met people, your tribe, for a press
The
conference.
press. You're a national spokesperson, correct?
You assume, I've done this on the same day hundreds of times. It's not good for health, but it's a great learning curve. Now here, if you assume the same topic, the approach is to get the Nobel Prize for miniaturization. Gagar mein sagar. You try to encapsulate it in that two-sentence thing which you people love. That's summarization. So therefore, this is a third style of speaking the same thing. And twice at least in my life, not more than 2 or 3 times. Others I've done hundreds of times the same day, mind you. But twice at least, you take a car after 5 o'clock, after taking your press briefing, and drive for a rally to Meerut and address a rally in Meerut. That's a fourth style, a fourth idiom, a fourth Shelley. There, the canvas is even larger. Logic takes a back seat. Emotion and rhetoric has to be. So you can imagine, that, I mean, it's fun to learn. It's not good for health. I don't do it very often now, but, it's been a very great learning curve for me.
Thank you so much. And before I let you go, sorry, before I let you go, can we get you to sing the song, or at least tell us which song you sang? I thought your wife had the talent, but now you have a hidden.
I did the clever lawyer's thing of marrying a singer, but I am the highest class of singers, which is known as bathroom singers. And I was told just now today after I sang, and people came up to congratulate me, that there is an actual association, a confederation of bathroom singers in Mumbai. And they have now, I joked from the stage, I sought the apology from the vice president, and I said that this is a captive audience, and you can't stop this speech or this song, because everybody had fun. But I mean, I just like music, so I do. The one I sang today was Kasbe Wade, one of my old favorites, from film Par, which incidentally was offered initially to Kishore Kumar to sing. And it's a comment on the times. Kishore Kumar on his own said, no song, you must go to Manna Dey. So Manna Dey did that. Kalyanji Anandji's and Indiva's lyrics. And that's one of my all-time favorites.
I didn't know you were a Hindi film song buff, but thank you so much. This has been a brilliant conversation. I'm going to continue and hopefully get you back on this topic soon. But for now, thank you so much, Dr. Singhvi. And I'm sure we'll see you back again in the house very soon. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.